Hello, my name is Frances Fox, and I'm a trained remote viewer. All my psychic skills are trained. I swear I didn't authorize the thumbnail for this particular chat, which is a very nice scene of a countryside, even though I have instructed the people that work with me to always choose images that are healing. But the truth of the matter is, I'm not sure that we're in a healing phase. I started this chat 12 minutes late. And as I was coming home, I knew I would be late. I wasn't nervous that I was going to be late because you see, what happened yesterday basically throws all the rules out the window. Why on earth would I make myself crazy if I went out to buy food, which I needed? If it's going to make me late, why should that make me crazy? Nobody else is playing by any rules. Then why should I play by the rules? And unfortunately, that is what's going to happen from here forward. I'm going to go over the issue with the Trump trial. Doesn't really matter whether I support Trump or not. It doesn't matter because the implications for what happened are profound in terms of this society, which is where I live. This society that influences the rest of the planet. This society that has its finger on the button that could explode nuclear weapons. Yeah, I know we're always accusing other countries, but the people that the world is most afraid of in terms of nuclear weapons is this country, not other countries. So let's start with sex. Well, the trial yesterday was supposedly not about sex. It was about improper, the accountant, maybe the president told him, maybe he didn't, putting an expense in the wrong line in the expense report. We destroyed a country for that? The only reason this got to where it got was because it was about sex. I want somebody to ask Stormy Daniels, did she buy those breasts or are those hers originally? I'm always curious about that. Purchased breasts cannot possibly be the same as real ones, in my opinion. I've never purchased them. But energy is a very important thing, and plastic has a very, very different energy. Plastic comes from petroleum. Petroleum has spirits because it is a result of all the stuff that has died, the trees, the plants, the animals, and then it's compacted for centuries, and then you got yourself your petroleum. So I know I'm being sarcastic, but honestly, okay, so sex. Why is sex such an issue in this country? Trans, a problem with sex. Not happy with sex. The trial, if it hadn't been about sex, this trial would not have happened. Sex trafficking, about sex. The epidemic of pornography addiction, all about sex. Low sperm count, low birth rates, all about sex. Young people are not even interested in sex. I have had two mothers come to me, and they represent other mothers because they told me that they discussed it with other mothers whose sons had girlfriends, slept with them in the same bed, not just once, but continuously, and they never had sex. Okay, so that's an exception. No. Both mothers who said this to me very secretly, I could never discuss this about their family or the kids or them ever. They did give me permission to talk about it generically. They both talked to friends of theirs, only a couple because it was so shameful, the fact that they had a kid that wasn't having sex. And they found out that that is a pretty common practice. And this was years ago. It gets worse. What's going on with sex? Why are we so distorted? We need to find that out. By the way, I have a book written called Psychic Sexual Secrets. The answer to that question is not in that book, and it hasn't been published. It's not been published because it doesn't really matter what I do. I'm not allowed to be anything of any importance on the local scene or the public scene because of sex, because I was sex trafficked with a US president when I was under 14 years old. So my life basically has been destroyed, and I would say probably my family's also. Sex, 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 and we don't know anything about it. We don't know where the initiation of orgasm is in the body. Second chakra, 2 inches below the belly button. We don't know that orgasm is spiritual ecstasy. Only have to look at St. Teresa's face in that very famous statue and her autobiography, not just her face, which is the face of a woman in orgasm, but her autobiography describes orgasm. And anybody that reads it or looks at it goes, my God, why didn't I realize that before? There is entirely too much that we haven't realized about sex. It's taking down not just this country, it's taking down the planet. How did that happen? Why did that happen? Not about money. I must be saying something important because I'm getting stabbed here again by a spirit. Here we go with the little, I don't have a cold and I only need it when I do a chat. Okay, so what is there about sex? I did a video on why sex was important and the connection between sex and the ET's, certain ET's intention to control humanity. Very few people saw it. No comments. I'm sure people didn't get it. In the Catholic Church, there's a classification of ETs. And they include, see, here we go again. They include succubus and incubus, which are the worst of the spirits that invade. And they are very associated with sex. You cannot be perverted unless you have one of those spirits attached. And you can't commit sex crimes unless you have those spirits attached. Those spirits come from off planet and they enter through this part of the head because we have a portal there. What's the easiest way to take a human being down? What do the spirits know that the intelligence community also knows and cults also know? Money or sex. But sex is what really, really, really can get somebody under control. And obviously, whoever is orchestrating all of this knows all about how to take human beings down, in this country particularly, having to do with sex. Practically every issue that is coming up, the bottom line is sex. Now they're talking about taking Obama and Clinton to court because of wars. They almost took him down because of sex with an intern. Killing millions of people doesn't classify, but having sex with one person does. I'm telling you, my book, Psychic Sexual Secrets, what a great title, does not have the answer in there. But I think I'm going to have to work on that and maybe do a chart, because maybe if I make it more visual, people can actually get it. You need to take care of your energy center that is where your sexuality is generated, influenced, and handled, 2 inches below the belly button. But that energy center is also about manifestation, creativity, and your sacredness. It's called the sacral chakra. Orgasm is a sacred act. It is spiritual ecstasy. It opens a pathway to off planet, the galaxy, and your version of God. We need to connect the dots. We need to get this figured out. We're going down really, really quick. So I didn't feel the need. So I'm not here at 7. Who said I had to be here at 7? Well, you want to do things systematically. Well, I'm not sure that doing things systematically makes much of a difference anymore. So now let's go into the actual trial. bottom line was sex. If it hadn't been sex, where he put that little 130,000, I think it was not really important. The sex kept everybody interested. So it made it more viable in terms of getting people's attention, in terms of turning people. But more important than that is that trial was held in a city, New York City, that has been called for at least over a decade the city of hate. Why? Because it has so much fire element that my group, where we have gone around and cleared and tried to balance the elements in different places, including Washington, D.C., the city has such an excess of fire that we were told to not even bother, that we weren't going to be able to make a difference. So we have a trial in a city that has so much fire that it's almost not fixable. What does that mean? Fire is the element that creates insomnia, irritation, frustration, hatred, anger, emotional violence, physical violence, murder, and suicide. So the trial is in a setting that is not a good setting because there's an excess of fire, which creates hatred, 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 hatred. When you have such an excess, your wisdom completely washed out. Didn't these people know that if they actually won, in other words, they actually convicted Trump, that the situation for them was going to get as bad as it's going to get very quickly? Well, to know that, they would have had to have had a clear thought process, not even wisdom, just like logic. Don't open this door because you're not going to be happy with what happens. They opened a door. And it washes over, even in terms of me saying, why do I have to rush to be there at 7? Why? Do you know how many people are going to be asking that question from here on out? I'm not sure we're going to be able to rein in all of what has been let loose. And you could say all the bad stuff has been let loose. I don't consider that I'm bad having to do with these chats. I'm very systematic. I try to pitch in a way that you can understand. I'm not bad. And yet I feel like I'm free. There's no obligation. What obligation is there for anybody to do anything? If things that we should have been able to count on, like a backdrop to doing life in this country, we can't count on. The people who made this decision are either, number one, really, really, really dumb, or they're very controlled by spirits. Well, I can tell you that it would appear that our president does not seem to be totally in control of himself. That's an understatement. I'm not going any further on that. I don't need to get a call in the middle of the night that I crossed the line. No. Obviously, he's not so in control of himself or his body. So you have a trial in a city full of hate, and then you have the trigger point is sex. Not a good combination. No clarity from both ends. And then we have a man, Trump, who has a pattern of unfair lawsuits. Why do I say unfair? How do I know? Because he's had too many lawsuits and he's never lost. So a vast percentage of them have to have been not correct, not accurate, not fair. I mean, those judges and those juries or whatever there was, they were not all on his side. He was winning because they couldn't prove that he had done anything and not because he's so gifted at hiding stuff. So we are not in a good place. Whatever happened yesterday is like a before and an after. This is the after. And if it affected me in terms of I don't need to be there on time, how is it affecting everybody else? How is it affecting people that have so much hatred inside of them for the government to start out with because they lost a leg in a war and then they didn't get compensated or they're not getting the help that they need? How about all those people? We are not in a good place. And A lot of the reason why we've been able to get here is because we haven't had enough information. And one thing I love about the Buddha, and of course we'll never know if he actually said it, but supposedly he said that the basis for human anguish was ignorance, people not aware. Now, Trump could not have done anything for that trial not to be in New York City, the city of hate. But if everybody in New York City knew that they were being called the city of hate, maybe they could have started to do a community mantra. Going back to community mantras, somebody was asking why all of this was happening. I think it was Elon Musk's parody account. And I put again what I put 6 months or a year ago, that both Trump and Elon Musk have trauma with lawsuits. When you have a trauma, it creates a scar on your mind. It's called a vasana. The mind streams get all tangled up. And from there, you're creating. You have distorted mind streams, but you're still creating because your mind creates reality. But you're creating distortion. And what is stuck in there from the trauma repeats and repeats. That's what's going on with Trump. This is going to repeat. So I put it up on X and asked for everybody, please, to do the mantra to clear the karma of both men having to do with lawsuits. Because look where it's taking us. And here we go again to responsibility. Who's responsible for all of this? Well, Trump is also responsible. He has a pattern. He never cleared it. And now we're all dragged into the mess. But we all have things that we didn't clear because we didn't know. If not, he would have cleared it. I can guarantee you. He doesn't fool around. If he finds out about it, he probably won't believe in it. But like I tell people, it's just so obvious, and I'm not talking about him. Obvious you have a pattern. How come this is happening to me again? You have a pattern. Okay, now what do? You don't have to clean up everything. You just have to clean up the root of the pattern. And it's very simple with the mantra. So whose fault is all of this? We can start with the person it's happening to. And the day those two men go, why is this happening to me? And they stop pointing at other people. This applies to my life also. And they stop pointing at, why is this happening to me? What is it that I have that I'm creating this? Well, I would never create that voluntarily. No, you didn't create it voluntarily. You have twisted mind streams the same way we all do in the stuff in our lives that we keep recreating. And those twisted mind streams created that again to put it in your face for you to go, oh, gee, I think I have something I have to take care of. That is supposed to be what is a master. When you become a master on planet Earth, the other planets, who knows? I'm still trying to handle the information on this one. When you become a master, you stop pointing fingers at other people. Why is this happening to me? Those other people that did that to you, which is something that's happened 10 times, they don't even know the other people that did that to you. That may not have even been, and probably didn't start in this incarnation. But you're still responsible. You still created that reality. That is not easy to wrap your head around because then it gets embarrassing. Look what I did. Oh my God, I dragged all these people into this. I'm asking for all this help. I'm not talking about the lawsuits anymore, generically. The day that you forget about the shame and the anger and the question marks and the wanting to blame, and you just go, okay, why is this happening to me again? That day, you're on your path to being a master in your life. If it's a repeat, that means at some place you had a trauma. You don't have to remember that trauma. But look at this new angle. I am giving some events in which the people that come, I analyze a particular chakra, energy center in them. And yesterday I was doing the root chakra. And one of the examples is from another day that I did the same thing. It turns out that you can have a pattern of something that didn't happen to you, but happened to your mother. The Chinese call that an ancestral pattern. And I have one, I can't tell you the example from yesterday, but it was very interesting because the woman was not able to identify with what I said. And it was so obvious from all the other readings, because it was an open thing, that I'm accurate, which I already know. So I said, listen, it's not possible that this is not accurate. So why don't you? It turned out that the issue was an issue that happened to a great grandfather. And then it became all clear. She's got the issue lodged in one of her chakras, energy centers. And she's repeating that pattern. And she said, yes, that there were some characteristics that she was repeating. I had another woman years ago. She gave me permission to say the story openly. She had an issue of feeling that people were going to poison her, feared that she was going to get poisoned. And I said, well, but this is something that happened to you before. No. And I wasn't thinking about patterns. I was it was something that happened to her. No, 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 no. Her mother used to come to some of her sessions, which I've never had that experience before, but whatever. And her mother said to me, but that did happen to me. It turned out in the Second World War, she was a young girl and she was on her own, and she was running from farmhouse to farmhouse, whatever, running from the Germans because she was Jewish. And in one of the groups that she ended up connecting with, as comfort, whatever, one of them tried to poison her so they wouldn't have to continue to provide for her and carry her with them, whatever. But that memory was taken on by the daughter. She never went through that. And yet that memory was inside of her energy system. So you can have a pattern from something that didn't even happen to you physically. It happened to your mother. But it's still a pattern that repeats, and it still needs to be cleared. And the good news is that when you clear it for yourself, you're also clearing that pattern for a couple of generations up, and it won't continue with the people that were born after you. So these ancestral lines are very, very important. So anytime you take the time to address one of those patterns, you're helping out a whole string of people. So today's a before and an after. The thumbnail that I put is a natural setting that's very nice. When I sat down here, I was like, I don't want that, but it was already done. I was running late. Let's do it. Now I'm back to, you know what? You need contact with nature. I think, going back to sex, I think that everybody needs to remember the aliens, they don't have sexuality. Nobody will tell you, no, I was abducted by a male alien. I was abducted by a female alien. There is no sexuality. What's that all about? No, why don't we ask what's that about on this planet that we do have sexuality? Well, I'm not exactly sure the answer to that, but I can tell you this, that sexuality very much comes from Earth, from the Earth element. The more disconnected you are to the Earth element and the water element, the less sexuality, the less your sexuality is supported. You want to have a lot of sex, go to the beach. You want to have a lot of sex, go to the mountains. You want to have a lot more sex, go to the mountains by the beach. Big cities with a lot of radionics, a lot of radiation, etc., lower sexuality. Is that what's going on? I suspect. I suspect there's a link between high technology and low sex drive. And then you go low fertility, low birth rate, countries collapsing because of technology, because we didn't know. The whole sex thing, we really need to get into it. And the thing that off planet there's no sex, I'm not even sure what those implications are. What are the implications of that? Because planet Earth is becoming galactic. Oh yeah, but planet Earth is also becoming less sexual. Maybe that's part of the process. I don't know, but I think we need to find out about it. So for some reason, I feel released today. And yet I thought that I would wake up today massively depressed, and I did, because of the lawsuit having to do with what the reflection on this country and the reflection of the legal system. When I went to university, I was going to be a lawyer. And by the way, the reason I didn't study law was sex. I was the only female of all the group of guys and that were on the debate team. I was on the debate team, and there were 7 guys and me. And when we traveled, I had to travel with 7 guys. They didn't send people because, we were university students, except I was Cuban, so we were a lot more controlled, whatever. And it was very difficult. They would make a lot of fun of me. They would tell me there was no class. There was class. They would play all sorts of games. So I decided I did not want to live an entire life being jerked around by guys. And when I quit, you know what they said? Oh my God, you're really good. We need you. And I was like, well, maybe if the treatment had been different, because they did not do that to each other. So let's say I should have been tougher. It's possible. But sex again determined my future, as it had in the past and continues to today because of my personal history of having been sex trafficked. So you know what? We need to trolley on, and I need to get that book finished, Psychic Sexual Secrets. It's not for sale until I can get all these people that don't want the sex trafficking stuff to come out to become public. Whenever I get them all off my back, because society deals with the issue, because I think society is the biggest issue, not them, then I will get that book out. But you're not going to find anything titillating in there. No, you're going to find suggested sex positions, other than if you can get your feet on the ground when you're having sex, that's really good because you're taking in the earth element. That's as far as I go with that. Nothing that anybody would say, oh, that's an indecent book. None of that stuff about energy and sex, connection between your astrological sign and sex, etc. Sounds like a promo. The book's not out there. It's not a promo. Okay. So I got liberated. How did I get liberated? By what happened yesterday? Felt like the end of the world, but it wasn't. It was the beginning of a new world. But you need to play by the rules, and the rules on the physical dimension don't apply anymore. They don't apply. You need to understand about creating reality. You need to understand that you can have a great reality even if everything goes south, even if there's a nuclear war. It doesn't matter, because you create the reality at every single level. So you need to learn about all that stuff. And you also need to detach from the reality that other people are creating for themselves, because they don't know any better. And then you need to take responsibility. Why is this happening to me again? Why is this happening to me again? It keeps happening. Where's the common denominator? You. So then it's something inside of you. Yes, it's a congestion on your mind. It's a vasana, Vasana. You have a vasana, aggressive vasana. You don't have to pay money. You just do a mantra. And it releases. Mantras are devices that liberate the mind. So when you do a mantra, you liberate those tangled mind streams. It ends up looking like a hairball, like from cats when they vomit a hairball. That's what it looks like. You release it, and then you cannot recreate that same reality. You're not going to be able to say, why is it happening again? Because it's not going to happen again, because your mind, intention creates reality. Your intention creates your reality. You don't have that there. It's not going to happen automatically. You're going to be able to actually have a choice. So I strongly suggest that you get on the bandwagon of doing the mantra for Trump and Elon, if they're important in your life and you think it's important that they do well. It's up on X, the mantra, which is very simple. Please, God, help us with our intention to miraculously purify the unfair lawsuits karma of Elon and Trump. Astrological signs, very important also. I'm just thinking of stuff I can't say. So we're going to go ahead now, and we're going to do the peace mantra. And it's right here. Thank you, Rosibel. I appreciate it. If you go to my YouTube in English, you'll notice that I'll have like 30, 40 likes, and 5 people will see the video, which obviously is not possible. But I think they're being really careless. Everybody's being very careless about the stuff that they're doing that they're not supposed to be doing, which is another. The trial yesterday is an example. People don't care. They're being careless. They're not coloring inside the lines. They're not held up by anything. I'm going to say something now, and God, I hope I don't get reamed for this. But I've been living in this country forever. Even though I was born on a base, I was made a Cuban citizen when I was born, which didn't make any sense because I was born on a base in Germany. But it makes sense if you want to deny that you ever did this to an American citizen. So whatever. But this has been in a very orderly society, the United States, and there's rules and regulations, and people follow them, and then everything kind of works. It was very distressing to me several years ago when I realized that there are a couple of different groups of immigrants, which I think is going to be happening more, who basically have come to this country. And I have been an immigrant twice. I was technically in jail for 2 years because I was an illegal immigrant. I entered the country illegally. That was when I was 2 years old. I came from Europe. My father was a soldier, but I didn't have the proper papers. So I was technically in jail for 2 years in the custody of my parents. But several years ago, I realized through conversations, observations, that there were a couple of groups of immigrants that basically arrive at this country and they do this. What are the rules? So if I stand in line and I follow the rules, I get this. Oh, that's kind of nice. But you know what? I don't want to stand in line. I want to go around. Oh my God, I get more. And then I can get that. And then I can also stand in the line and I get. And it was then that I realized we are in trouble if there are enough people who enter this country and understand that we are so used to order that we don't get it, that people that come in that weren't trained since they were born to this order and orderliness, in 2 seconds flat, they can read the system and stand in line and get what you're supposed to get when you stand in line, but also go into the back door, make friends with the guy that's a janitor. Dirty pool. But it's not dirty pool to them. It's just being very savvy. Well, in this country, we're very intelligent and savvy, but we have a respect for the system. And when that respect is gone, the system is shot. The system is shot. But we are in end times. Hierarchy collapses. This is hierarchy. These people coming in are not seeing this as something to be respected. They're coming in and looking at it and going, okay, how do I do this? How do I max out my advantage here? And that is the opposite to what the system was set up for. So the value system, the values that this system was set up for are no longer valid. The system is going to collapse. There's no other way. It's going to collapse. And there we go back to, oh, but you create your own reality. Well, yeah, but I'm hooked into the system. I don't know if it was 5 or 10 years ago. The rules changed for the planet. We are no longer hooked to a collective reality. You can create your own. I actually believe this. And I'm not going down with everybody else. Now, for that, you have to have a bit of a disconnect from bad news. And you have to spend a significant amount of time creating. And you have to identify within yourself the patterns that you have, and you have to go after them and get them unraveled by mantras, which is the most efficient way. I guess they could give you electroshock if they could find exactly where in your system that little vasana is. I guess if you gave it a shock treatment, we don't need to do that. You just identify things that repeat that you don't like, and you go after it with a mantra, and they work. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the mantra. I'm going to put some crown chakra music on, which we have not done before. And let's go ahead and enjoy 15 minutes. Okay? The mantras are repeated in silence. There we go. Okay. So today I decided to break free from restrictions, societal restrictions, and I wore linen, which is very much in my world view. Linen. You don't have linen unless you have somebody who can iron it for you, or you can pay the cleaners. It's a symbol of affluence. Anyway, I can't stand it, but not because of that. Uh, not because of what it represents. It's a pain in the neck fabric, but it's healthy for you if it's linen. So I sketched the collective mind before I started to speak. And this is what you all look like. Very depressed. You do have the 3 triangles. You still have the fire underneath. That's not going away. And then you have the spaceships of the bad guys actually able to penetrate the triangle. I didn't realize that until I sketched you at the very end of the mantra session. And then you look like this. The spaceships are no longer able to penetrate. Your mind streams are lifted. They're not a great color. You're still depressed, but at least you're not so down. And there are little flowers growing at the bottom. So this was 14 minutes that you did this mantra with this music, which is different from the other music. And you got protection from bad ETs. But this is so simple. How could it possibly be so powerful? Because on this planet, you don't need to be complicated. We don't need to go into what science has done to us to complicate everything. If it takes more than 3 or 4 sentences to describe something, chances are you don't really understand it. And that's okay. But just because something is simple doesn't mean it's not incredibly valuable. And the stuff that's foundational, if you go to the causal level, is really very simple. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday, unless something incredible happens over the weekend that I feel that perhaps you might want my opinion on because of what I see in other dimensions, or I may want to share my opinion on it. Okay, so have a great week.